Trump came in ready for a fight. Obama came in ready for the truth. And that's why one of them walked off. Tension in America isn't new. But tonight, it doesn't just hang in the air. It presses down on everything. People are worn out, not just annoyed, exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that sinks into conversations, into dinner tables, into school pickup lines and night shifts. Every topic feels like a trigger. Every opinion feels like a fight waiting to start. Money is tight. Prices keep climbing. Arguments break out in supermarkets, gas stations, family group chats. Workplaces are split in two. Politics isn't a side topic. It's a battlefield that starts at breakfast. The country isn't watching this broadcast to be entertained. They're watching because something in the air tells them that tonight isn't normal. Some sit at kitchen tables with the TV on low. Others gather in bars, restaurants, and hotel lobbies where staff pretend to wipe counters just to stay close to the screen. Newsrooms go quiet. Commentators speak softer than usual. Even people who normally don't care are paying attention just in case. Why? Because this is the kind of event where anything could break loose. A live debate. Not between current rivals on a campaign stage, but something even stranger. A seated president and a former president facing each other. Unscripted, unfiltered, and surrounded by the most unpredictable moment in modern American history. Donald Trump sits at one end of the stage. He's not just a politician. He's the sitting president again. Every move he makes now echoes from the White House outward. He leans forward, jaw tight, ready to strike at the first sign of weakness. Barack Obama sits across from him, calm, measured, but not passive. He's been out of office for years, but his words still land harder than most speeches coming out of Washington. His tone carries weight. His pauses make people lean in. The moderators know this broadcast is a storm waiting to happen. They have emergency cuts ready. Producers stand off stage with headsets like they're preparing for a plane landing in a thunderstorm. When the cameras go live, the nation doesn't blink. There's no small talk, no warm-up, no polite handshake. They go straight in, but not how anyone expects. The first minutes aren't about policy. They don't talk about trade, the border, or foreign allies. They don't mention unemployment or housing. The air is too thick for that. Both men seem to understand that something darker and more personal is already sitting between them. At home, people feel that before anyone speaks. Some hold their breath. Some cross their arms. Some roll their eyes and say, "Here we go." But no one turns away. Every screen, every speaker, every paused moment becomes a crackling wire of expectation. Even people who hate politics sense something off. Tonight doesn't feel like the kind of debate where one side cheers and the other complains. It feels like a lid is about to come off of something they've all felt but couldn't name. Outside the homes and bars and dorms and living rooms, the streets feel quieter than usual. Cars are parked. Windows glow blue. Dogs wait by doors because walks got postponed. Couples who were arguing an hour ago have gone silent. You can almost imagine the entire country leaning toward one direction, connected by screens and tension. In studios across the nation, commentators sit ready with notes, but they barely touch them. They aren't sure if they're covering politics or history or scandal or collapse. They've never covered a night like this. Online chat rooms and group threads are open but slow, like everyone's hands are hovering above the keyboard, waiting for something to react to. In one apartment, a man in his 60s stares at the screen with tired eyes and doesn't touch his dinner. Two teenage brothers who normally argue over the remote sit side by side on the couch without speaking. In a quiet house in Nevada, a woman mutes her phone so she won't get interrupted. A family in Detroit turns off every light except the TV. Nobody trusts the night to behave. The host introduces the speakers with careful words as if touching glass. The applause is polite, but there's no warmth, no real cheer. Even the clapping sounds like hesitation. The camera moves in on their faces, and the difference in energy is striking. Obama sits back, steady, breathing evenly. His suit looks untouched by sweat or nerves. He watches Trump like someone who already knows how the storm forms. Trump leans forward as if the chair itself is too small for everything he's ready to unload. His hands rest on the desk, but tighten now and then, like he's counting the seconds until he can cut in. The host asks a simple opener, neutral, bland, safe. The kind of question no one will remember, but the answer isn't safe. The tone isn't calm, and the break from expectation is so sudden that even people in the control room look up. That first shift is small, but it's enough. You can feel the direction of the night turn almost visibly. Not with shouting, not with accusations, but with the kind of silence that comes right before something loud. And somewhere in that silence, across millions of living rooms and crowded bars and dark kitchens, viewers understand one thing without anyone saying it. This will not stay a debate. Something is going to snap. Something buried is about to surface. And when it does, the country will not be the same on the other side of it. What comes next doesn't arrive with warning. There's no lead-in, no careful edge. It happens the way lightning does. Sudden, blinding, and impossible to take back. The host finishes a question that barely matters. Everyone expects a measured start, but Trump doesn't ease in. He doesn't build tension. He snaps it instantly. His eyes lock onto Obama, and the tone in his voice drops any pretense of formality. He skips past policy and goes straight for the one thing he knows will sting. Identity. Not performance. Not leadership. Identity. He says it sharply with that cutting rhythm he uses when he wants to hurt, not argue. The insult isn't political. It's personal. It lands like a punch thrown in a crowded room. For a heartbeat, the air goes dead. Not a whisper, not a shuffle, not even a nervous laugh. The studio audience goes rigid, unsure whether to react or pretend it didn't happen. Some turn their heads slowly toward the host, as if waiting for a rule to be enforced. Others stare at Obama, waiting to see if he'll rise to match the strike. In living rooms across the country, silence. A teenager watching with his parents blinks and looks at his mom like, "Did he just say that?" In a bar outside Chicago, someone drops a fork. A woman at home alone whispers, "No way." Even people who have defended Trump before feel the edge of discomfort. The words feel different this time. Not a jab, something sharper. The moderators freeze. One of them opens his mouth like he might step in, but doesn't. Maybe he's afraid to interrupt. Maybe he knows it won't matter. And then everyone looks at Obama. He doesn't blink. Not even a twitch of shock crosses his face. He doesn't lean back, doesn't shift, doesn't show the smallest sign of being rattled. He holds the silence, letting the weight of the moment sit untouched. He doesn't take the bait. Instead, he inhales slowly, the kind of breath taken by someone who has already calculated the next 5 moves. His expression stays almost too calm. Then he speaks, not fast, not loud, but with a clarity that makes every word seem louder than a shout. He doesn't defend himself. He doesn't fire back with equal heat. He starts by speaking about something bigger than the insult, about what kind of nation people become when insults are treated like truth. His tone feels like it was crafted for this moment years ago, waiting for the exact time to surface. Viewers lean in, not because he's dramatic, but because he's steady. And steadiness, in contrast to the blow just thrown, feels dangerous in its own way. He doesn't mention Trump by name at first. He talks about what happens when leaders use anger instead of answers, when attacks become substitutes for facts. His tone is not scolding. It's surgical. Every sentence is measured to cut without appearing to strike. Trump shifts in his chair. It's small, but it's noticeable. His jaw tightens like he's waiting for his turn to fire back again. He looks ready to interrupt, but Obama keeps speaking in that same unshaken cadence. In homes across the country, the silence that followed Trump's insult slowly turns into something else. Tension mixed with curiosity. People who might have expected Obama to snap don't get that. Instead, they get a response that feels like the opening move of something far more dangerous than anger. Precision. Obama doesn't raise his hands, doesn't lean forward, doesn't match fire with fire, and somehow that makes the moment feel even more threatening to the man who threw the first blow. Trump expected a fight. What he gets is composure. And composure can't be out-yelled. Someone in the control room whispers, "This is about to go somewhere bad." Another producer watches the clock, wondering if they'll need to cut to break, but no one moves. No one dares interrupt. Obama's voice stays even as he pivots from principle to personal intention. He says that leadership is tested not when things are easy, but when character is on trial. He reminds the audience that lies always arrive louder than truth, but never outlasted. He still hasn't mentioned the insult directly, but somehow every word feels like a mirror being held up to the man across from him. People can practically feel the air trembling between them. Then it happens. A shift so slight only those watching closely catch it. Obama glances directly at Trump. Just once, not long, not dramatically, just long enough to signal something no one else can quite name, but everyone feels. It's the look someone gives when they've decided they're done letting things slide. Trump sees it. The host sees it. Everyone watching at home feels it. This isn't going to stop at words about respect. This is only the start. Obama finishes his response not with volume, but with finality. And the moment he stops, it feels like the quiet before an alarm goes off. Trump opens his mouth as if ready to strike again. But before he can unleash his next line, the moderator wraps fingers around a stack of notes like he's holding on to something before a storm. The crowd doesn't know whether to clap, cough, or stay frozen. The tension hasn't eased. It's waiting. Viewers everywhere don't look away because deep down they know the insult wasn't the explosion. It was the fuse, and the blast is still coming. When Section 2 ends, the air is already stretched thin. People are still recovering from the insult and the calm reply that followed, but they don't know that moment was only the crack before the rupture. What comes next doesn't walk in, it drops. The moderator tries to move to the next topic, pretending the atmosphere isn't radioactive. He forces a polite smile and glances between the two men like someone trying to stop a wildfire with a cup of water. He asks a question about public trust and leadership ethics. Most assume the tone will level out. It doesn't. Obama doesn't sit back this time. He doesn't deliver his answer like part of a debate. He leans forward, not aggressively, but intentionally, like someone about to remove a cover that's been hiding something rotten underneath. His voice stays calm, but the edge is different now. Colder, more exact. He starts by saying that trust in leadership isn't only about words spoken in front of cameras. It's shaped by the private truths leaders bury behind them. The room doesn't move. Trump watches without blinking, trying to read the direction. Obama's next sentence shifts everything. Without hesitation, without build-up, without warning. He says Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner's marriage is a construct. An arrangement, not a bond built out of love, but a carefully designed shield to hide something darker. The words don't echo, they slice. The host's eyebrows lift first, then freeze in place. One of the camera operators forgets to pan. A woman in the audience gasps, but covers her mouth too quickly for anyone to see. People at home don't even know how to react. Some squint at the screen like they misheard. Others sit upright so fast they jostle the furniture, and then comes the part that detonates the silence completely. Obama says the arranged marriage wasn't just for optics or influence. According to him, it was built to bury rumors. Rumors of something so unthinkable people never dared to say it aloud. An affair not whispered between colleagues or opponents, but between Donald Trump and his own daughter. The studio doesn't breathe. Someone off stage mutters a stunned, "Oh my God," but their mic isn't live. The moderator stares ahead like his body forgot how to move. Even the audience, filled with people who came expecting sparks, were not ready for a bomb this size. Trump's reaction isn't delayed. His mouth opens fast, the way it does when instinct beats strategy. He fires off noise before thought. He calls it disgusting, calls it fiction, calls it twisted beyond reason. But the anger is wild and unshaped, not grounded like a denial, more like flailing against a blow no one warned him about. He doesn't say that's not true. He says everything except those exact words. That detail doesn't go unnoticed. Obama doesn't react to the shouting. He watches with stillness that feels planned, like he walked into the room already knowing exactly what this moment would look like. Viewers can feel something terrifying in that silence. Not fear, not hesitation, finality. Trump keeps talking louder and messier, trying to drown the moment before it solidifies. He tries to twist Obama's wording, claim it's slander, claim it's staged political drama. But shouting doesn't erase shock. It only confirms panic. Meanwhile, across the country, phones light up in living rooms, but no one picks them up. People stay locked to the screen. Someone reaches to grab the remote, then thinks twice. Even those who loathe both men can't look away. Obama lets the shouting run until it slows for air. And then, without raising his voice, he says he wouldn't make the claim without reason. That documents exist, that people close to the family know the truth behind the performance. He doesn't wave any file or hold up any papers. He doesn't need to. The conviction in his tone suggests preparation. The audience can feel Trump searching for a foothold, anything to grip onto. But nothing comes. He can't pivot to policy. He can't joke it away. He can't walk it back with charm. The accusation is too big, too dark, too glued to past words he can't erase from the public mind. Viewers around the country remember those moments now, the ones most had shoved into the corners of memory. The interview on daytime TV, the backstage talk from the pageant years, the casual comments that always felt off. Separately, they were shrugged away together in this moment. With this claim, they hit like puzzle pieces clicking into place. The studio hasn't recovered. The silence between Trump's shouts feels louder than the words themselves. The moderator looks like he wants to cut to commercial, but is terrified of being the one who tries. Producers backstage argue in frantic whispers. Security edges closer, not because of danger in the room, but because they can feel things spiraling. Trump leans forward now, red-faced, fists tense, spitting denial without structure. His voice climbs over itself, reaching for outrage that feels less like strength and more like disbelief that someone actually said it out loud. Obama sits back. He doesn't match the intensity. He doesn't smirk or taunt. He just sits with the confidence of someone who didn't improvise this moment, but arrived at it with certainty. In homes everywhere, the same thought flickers through people's minds. Did he just break open something we were never supposed to hear? And more importantly, is he about to prove it? Because this doesn't feel like a rumor tossed into the wind. It feels like the start of an avalanche. The moment Obama's revelation lands, the entire debate hall feels like it's been struck by lightning. The crowd doesn't gasp. They lock up. Everyone, from the moderator to the camera crew, freezes like a broadcast caught in buffering. Even people at home sitting on couches and scrolling through their phones seconds earlier suddenly forget to blink. And then it happens. Trump doesn't pause. He doesn't swallow the hit or try to process it. He erupts. He lunges forward in his seat, eyes flaring, voice tearing through the air before the moderator can even regain control. The mic captures every decibel of rage as he launches into a frantic stream of words, loud, jagged, and unrestrained. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. You're sick. You're a liar. This is defamation. You can't just make things up on live TV. But the thing that catches people off guard isn't the anger. It's the desperation underneath it. He's not deflecting with humor like he sometimes does. He's not smirking, not smacking the table with confidence. The tone is sharp and uneven like someone trying to hold back a flood with their bare hands. The moderator starts to lean in, hoping to restore order, but Trump steamrolls right over him. You think you can just say that? You think you can smear my family, my name, my daughter? You better watch yourself. That last sentence makes the air shift again. Threats. Not in those exact words, but close enough to make producers in the control room reach for the panic button. The debate was supposed to be fiery political theater. Now it feels like a hostage situation. Viewers across the country are glued to their screens. Social media comment sections light up in real time. People aren't even typing. Some just spam the shocked emoji because they can't form sentences. Obama doesn't move. Not an eyelash. His stillness only inflames. Trump further. You're doing this for attention. You're trying to bring me down because you know you can't beat me in a real debate. This is pathetic. His voice cracks, not with sadness but with a kind of raw, uncontrolled energy. He points across the stage, his finger shaking, not steady like a practiced reprimand, but jittery like adrenaline without direction. The audience doesn't cheer. They don't boo. They stare. Even people who came wearing buttons and hats in support of him now sit quietly, unsure whether to clap, gasp, or slide down in their seats and pretend they're not there. The moderator tries again. This time more urgently. Mr. Trump, we need to, but he gets clipped off mid-sentence. Don't interrupt me. Don't you dare interrupt me right now. That outburst is loud enough for the microphone to distort. Producers backstage start waving at sound text to lower his levels before he blows out the feed. A director mouths the words, "Cut to wide shot." But the cameraman keeps the frame tight instinctively. This is the moment people will replay 100 times. Obama finally speaks, but only 3 words. "I'm not afraid." Simple, low voice, controlled, no dramatics. And that alone feels like it pulls the oxygen out of Trump's lungs. He turns to him faster than the camera can follow and starts spitting accusations so quickly they run together. "You're fabricating. You're obsessed. You've always been jealous because I win and you can't stand it. You think you can drag my family into this because your own legacy is weak." But, for the first time, the insults don't land. They don't even echo because the country is too focused on the performance unraveling before them. This isn't confident deflection. This is combustion. Somewhere in the studio, a security guard takes a step forward. Not because there's a physical threat, but because they sense a line approaching, a moment when words might spill into something else. Trump's volume doesn't fade, it climbs, as if shouting can erase sound that has already traveled across the airwaves. "Ivanka is my daughter. My daughter, and you? How dare you? How dare you suggest?" He stops, but not like someone concluding a sentence. More like a person slamming into a wall mid-sprint. The words tangle. His face flushed red, sweat building under stage lights that suddenly feel 10 times hotter. The moderator glances at producers again, silently begging for direction. Do they cut to commercial? Do they mute his mic? Do they intervene spiritually? But no one moves. And then Trump points again, jabbing the air between them, voice lower, but somehow even more dangerous. "You're going to regret this." That line, it's replayed instantly online, clipped, posted, shared, looped with ominous music and subtitles before the debate even ends. Viewers catch something haunting in his tone. Not rage alone, but fear disguised as aggression. Not control, but collapse in denial's costume. Obama finally replies, not loudly, not with a lecture, just with a single measured sentence spoken like someone reading a weather forecast. The truth doesn't tremble when it's spoken. That's it. No flourish, no attack, no follow-up. And that restraint only makes Trump shake more visibly. He tries to speak again, but this time the words jam. He stammers, glances off stage, and suddenly looks less like a leader fighting back and more like a man realizing the cameras aren't going to cut away. Then, in a move no one planned for, he tears off his mic pack, throws it on the desk, and stands. Someone off camera whispers, "He's walking. He's walking." But it's too late. He storms off the stage, not with confidence, but with the energy of someone fleeing a room that just exposed him completely. The moderator sits in stunned silence. The audience doesn't know whether to clap, gasp, or duck. Obama watches him leave. Eyes steady, hands folded like he expected nothing less. And somewhere across America, one thought spreads like ink in water. If this is his reaction, what exactly is he afraid of coming next? The chair Trump left behind is still turned slightly sideways, abandoned in anger. His microphone lies muted on the polished debate table. Someone backstage whispers directions into an earpiece, but no one on set knows what to do with the silence. It isn't the usual quiet after a heated debate. It's the silence that comes when something breaks on live television and can't be undone. The stage lights dim slightly as the production team scrambles to recover the moment. But Barack Obama doesn't wait for them. He doesn't ask the moderator for permission, and he doesn't glance toward the cameras for reassurance. He simply leans forward, places his hands together, and speaks not as a man arguing a point, but as someone who understands that millions of eyes are searching for meaning in the chaos they just witnessed. His voice is controlled, neither triumphant nor smug. "This isn't about one man's temper," he begins, "and it's not about trading insults on national television. It's about what the people watching right now deserve. Truth, dignity, and leaders who know the difference between power and responsibility." No one interrupts him. Not the moderator, not the audience, not the technicians still scrambling behind glass-walled rooms. Everyone listens. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't hurry. The cadence is calm, but there's weight in the pauses. People can pretend their private lives don't matter. They can act like there's no connection between the decisions behind closed doors and the ones made on the world stage. But history has never worked that way. Character always comes to light one way or another. Some viewers at home are sitting forward without knowing why. Others who were watching passively now put their phones down, sensing something worth hearing all the way through. Obama keeps going. Secrets don't stay buried forever. And when people in power bend reality to protect themselves instead of the country, someone has to speak up. Maybe not for popularity, maybe not for applause, but because silence lets the wrong things grow. As he speaks, the camera slowly tightens on his face. The studio audience is quiet. Their expressions a mix of uncertainty and shock at how quickly the energy shifted. What was moments ago a verbal brawl has turned into something much more deliberate. Like the closing statement in a trial, no one realized they were watching. He doesn't mention Trump's name again. Not once, he doesn't need to. The weight of the earlier meltdown is still hanging in the air. Accountability isn't about tearing people down. He says it's about lifting up the standards that affect every household in this nation. The truth isn't comfortable, but it doesn't vanish when someone storms off a stage. It stays, it waits, it demands answers. Even the moderator, who was still gripping his note cards like a lifeline minutes earlier, lowers them into his lap and listens. Obama doesn't gesture wildly or perform for effect. His expression is steady, the kind that makes people rethink conversations they've had in their own homes. "There are kids watching tonight," he says softly, "and adults who don't trust much anymore. There are families worried about being ignored, and citizens wondering if there's anyone left who cares about more than their own name or image. Those people deserve honesty. They deserve leaders who remember they were elected to serve, not to be war-ripped." His tone isn't angry. It's serious in a way that makes the silence around him feel intentional, not awkward. "And let me be clear," he adds, gaze never shifting. "Speaking the truth doesn't require fear. It requires remembering who you serve. If someone is afraid of honesty, that fear doesn't come from patriotism. It comes from what they're hiding." There's a ripple in the audience, small, almost undetectable. Some lean back, others swallow hard. The stage crew, still whispering directions to one another, slows to a crawl. He continues like he's addressing the viewers one by one. "I'm not here to entertain anyone. I'm here because leadership has consequences. Words have consequences. The way someone treats their family, their staff, and their country, they're not separate stories. They're pieces of the same truth." The microphone picks up each breath. Not a single cough, shuffle, or whisper interrupts. Then he shifts from reflection to resolve. "You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to like me. But ask yourself this. Do you want to be led by someone who panics when challenged? Someone who threatens when confronted? Someone who runs when truth walks in the room?" Those words seem to echo even though the room stays quiet. The camera drifts to the moderator, who looks stunned but doesn't dare step in. "There's a difference," Obama says, "between being loud and being right. And there's a difference between being confronted and being exposed." He lets that hang there. And walking off a stage doesn't end a conversation. It just confirms who was never strong enough to stay in it. Somewhere off camera, someone exhales loudly as if they'd been holding it the entire time. He finishes not with intensity, but with clarity. "I'm not afraid of threats. I'm not afraid of anger. And I'm certainly not afraid of the truth. If someone believes their power makes them untouchable, they've already forgotten why this country exists in the first place." There's no applause, not yet. The weight is too fresh, the emotion too mixed. Some are stunned. Some are rattled. Some are oddly relieved, as if someone finally said what they'd been trying to form into words for years. Obama leans back, the debate table still missing one of its participants. The cameras don't cut to commercial. The moderator still doesn't speak. In living rooms and bars and dorms and break rooms, people stare at their screens. Not because of the revelation alone, but because of what came after. Hard truth delivered without flinching. And now the question left behind isn't whether the bombshell was real or false. It's this: if one man walked away from the table, what else is waiting to surface?